All right, today we're diving into a classic Korean folktale that is honestly a masterclass in survival. It's a story all about desperation, deception, and the incredible power of a quick mind. It's called The Rabbit's Liver, and trust me, it might just change how you think about outsmarting your problems.
So let me just start by asking you a kind of weird question. Could you take your liver out, maybe hide it somewhere safe, and then just pop it back in when you need it? It sounds completely absurd, I know, but in the story we're about to unpack, your answer to that very question is literally the difference between life and death.
Okay, so picture this. Our story starts way, way down, deep beneath the waves of the South Sea. Down here, there's this magnificent underwater palace where the powerful Dragon King rules. But things are not good. The king has fallen gravely ill, and his entire kingdom is in chaos, just draped in this shadow of despair.
And the situation is about as grim as it gets. The king is on his deathbed, fading away fast. His royal physician, who's supposed to be the best in the entire ocean, has tried every single thing he can think of, every potion, every spell, but nothing has worked. It really seems like the king's mysterious sickness is totally incurable.
But then, just when it feels like all hope is lost, the physician makes this shocking announcement. He says there is one cure, and one cure only: the liver of a living rabbit. Yeah, a very specific, super rare, and frankly a near impossible ingredient to get. And just like that, the king's survival now depends completely on capturing a creature from a world they've never even known, the land. So you can imagine the court just goes into an uproar. How are they, a bunch of sea creatures, supposed to travel to this alien world, the land, and capture a rabbit? Well, one figure steps forward, a loyal and very brave turtle. He volunteers for what everyone knows is basically a suicide mission. And let's be super clear about how tough this is. First, he has to journey from the crushing depths of the sea all the way up to the dry, bright world above. Second, he needs to find a rabbit, an animal he's only ever heard descriptions of. And third, and this is the real kicker, he can't just use force. He has to actually convince this rabbit to come back with him voluntarily. So after a really long journey, the turtle finally finds a rabbit in a forest, and man, does he lay on the charm. He paints this incredible picture of a paradise under the sea, a life of luxury, power, and never-ending feasts. He even says a high government office is just waiting for the rabbit. It's an offer that sounds, well, a little too good to be true.
And here's where we see the anatomy of this perfect lie. The promise is absolutely incredible, a glorious life of power and luxury. But the reality? It's horrifying. This isn't an invitation, it's a death sentence. The turtle isn't offering a new life at all. He's just using the rabbit's ambition to lure it to the slaughter. The deception is just absolute. And the rabbit, completely swept away by these promises of fame and fortune, totally agrees. It hops right onto the turtle's back, and together they head down into the deep blue sea, on their way to the magnificent Dragon Palace and what the rabbit believes is a brilliant new career.
But the moment they arrive, that beautiful dream just shatters. Before the rabbit can even take in how amazing the palace looks, it's grabbed by these fierce palace guards. In a flash, it's tied up tightly in ropes, can't move, and its heart is just pounding with terror and confusion. And then the order comes, straight from the throne of the frail Dragon King himself. The words are cold, they're brutal, and there's no mistaking what they mean. In that single horrifying moment, the rabbit understands the real reason for the turtle's promise. It was all a lie to get it here to its death.
So, this is the turning point. The rabbit is surrounded, trapped, and just seconds away from a gruesome end. There is no physical way to escape. But it has one weapon left, and it's the sharpest one of all. Its mind. It has to think faster than it has ever had to in its entire life.
And what it comes up with is a stroke of pure genius. It doesn't scream in fear. No, it shouts out with this air of frustration, like the king and his guards are being really foolish. The rabbit claims its liver is so valuable that it never carries it around. It's safely hidden away back on land for safekeeping. The rabbit's plan is so brilliant because it uses the king's own desperation against him. First, it introduces this wild idea that livers are removable. Then, it offers a perfectly logical reason, safekeeping. And finally, it presents an offer that the king is just too desperate to refuse. Just let me go, and I'll go get it for you. It's a total masterstroke of psychological manipulation. And unbelievably,
it works. The Dragon King, just so blinded by his desire to be cured, so desperate for this one solution, completely swallows the rabbit's outrageous story. Hook, line, and sinker. He doesn't question it for a second. He immediately orders the guards, untie the rabbit, and tells the turtle to take it back to land at once. So, the rabbit once again climbs onto the turtle's back. But this time, the mood is completely different. The rabbit knows it has won, while the poor loyal turtle is still totally oblivious, only thinking about getting that precious liver for his king.
The second they reach the shore, the rabbit leaps off the turtle's back and screes to safety. From a distance, it shouts back, mocking the turtle and the foolish king, revealing the lie in all its beautiful absurdity. The turtle is just left there, stunned on the beach, as the full weight of his failure crashes down on him, realizing he has to go back to his king empty-handed. So, what are the lessons here? Well, first off, cleverness can absolutely beat brute strength. The rabbit was physically helpless, but its mind was its ticket out. Second, it's a timeless warning that if a promise seems way too good to be true, it almost always is. And finally, it shows how desperation, whether it's for a cure or for a promotion, can blind anyone to the obvious and make them a fool. And that leaves us with one final thought. Put yourself in the rabbit's position for a second. You're bound in ropes, your life is on the line. What incredible lie, what stroke of genius, what clever trick would you have come up with to escape?